And of course, we are on X Spaces, we are on YouTube, Facebook, and of course on myjoyonline.com. Now, this afternoon, we are heavy on illegal mining because government has revoked all small-scale mining licensing issued after the December 7th general election, citing procedural irregularities. This decision follows recommendations from an 18-member committee set up by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Environment, Science and Technology, and Innovation to reform and sensitize the mining sector. Speaking at a joint media briefing this morning, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofiwa, revealed that a review uncovered irregularities in the issuance of small-scale mining licenses after the specified date. Now, as part of the reforms, a small-scale mining technical committee has been established to assess all existing licensing, ensuring compliance with due process.
There is established a working committee to review the current licensing regime and propose recommendations and a comprehensive strategy to tackle the issues of illegal mining. Well, I've talked about that. That's the report that I've talked about. Now, one, we are going full steam ahead to revoke all licenses based on the finding. Even all licenses, small-scale licenses that were issued from December 7th is hereby revoked. Whether you have EPA license, because the finding is very clear. Those licenses from December 7th were rushed. The due processes were not followed. Right things were not done. People will have the opportunity to appeal to make sure the right things are done. But our whole focus is to make sure that the right things are done. Secondly, the existing community mining schemes are in name only, as I've said, although the basis for which they were funded were to benefit the community. However, the findings indicate that this is not the case. They have not been. They are to be disbanded and replaced with small-scale mining cooperatives that actually serve and benefit the community. These cooperatives will be formed after due diligence with the communities involved.
Right. So let's understand what the issues are. The question about the licenses revoked. According to the minister, any mining license that was issued after the December 7th election stands to be revoked. Isaac Kofi Ajaminta is from our research desk and he joins me in the. So Kofi, we've been doing some story around mining license issue here and there. Now the specific reference is after the December 7th election. Do we have figures to back this?
Yes, of course. If there is any place that the research desk actually sleeps, is the Minerals Commission's mining data repository. We've been trying to understand the number of licenses issued right after December 7th. I think somewhere around January when we did the querying and we actually were doing the analysis and cleaning of the data, we realized that some 102 mining-related licenses actually commenced operation after December 7th. And we saw an update in the system somewhere in February and we decided to check that as well. And what we realized was that that number, 102 mining-related lines commencing, had actually increased from 102 to now more than 300 of them. But I mean, I don't know if the minister speaks about small scale, but most of these licenses actually issued were for mining-related, activities. Some of them were for prospecting, some of them small-scale mining, some of them also large-scale mining. And so it will be interesting to see how the government will actually filter the small-scale miner. Or I don't understand if it's all mining licenses, or it's just a small-scale mining.
Yeah, I think the word is
on it, small-scale
mining. Yes,
but most of the small-scale mining licenses were actually issued from the first week of January. And in fact, even in December, there were a number of licenses that were actually issued to small-scale mining. Some for prospecting and some also for mining. But most of them, about 300 of them, actually commenced operation. In terms of the type of licenses that were actually issued. Not all of them went into actual mining, but some of them was actually for prospecting and for other mining-related activities out there.
But are there specific figures in terms of mining license, perhaps maybe during the Akufo-Addo administration, that we can talk about? The minister even referenced the fact that some persons have been given multiple licenses, sometimes 30 different mining licenses, and they are not even using it, and it is difficult to track them, the reason why they want to review this.
That's true. In fact, if you go into the repository, what you realize is that some of the names actually have been duplicated and all of that. But what we know is that since this Fourth Republic, the total number of mining licenses actually issued is around 200 and maybe 2,000
mining licenses.
2,190 something mining licenses. But if you do the math, and you look at the number of licenses that actually started operation under the Akufo-Addo administration, that's more than 90% of this over 2,000 mining-related licenses that we're actually talking about. So if you ask me about the actual figure, that's more than 90% of the over 2,000 mining-related licenses that actually started in the Fourth Republic. That figure is huge, and it's actually the biggest component if you decide to look at it from the Rawlings era to the Akufo-Addo era. The total number of lines that actually started operation during his tenure was about 90% of the total number that we've seen since the Fourth.
So clearly, there are more small-scale mining licenses than for the international mining companies, if you like.
There are. I mean, a number of them differ for different purposes. Some of them are for prospecting. Some of them also for actual mining. We are still going into the data, trying to understand, the dynamics in terms of the type of mining licenses that actually commenced operation, or the type of mining license that actually, was given out, for us to possibly understand the broader picture in terms of the mining sector, because we already know that the government is really counting heavily on the mining sector in the second term of President Mahama. We know of the gold board that has been initiated, or that the board is now, they actually enjoy close about more than $200 million in terms of allocation, right, in the 2025 budget to start operation as a revolving fund. You definitely would want to rely on the small-scale miners, but they were very categorical about the gold mining program and the type of gold they want to buy, and that if you are not licensed, if you cannot track your gold from the right source, you definitely will not fall in this category. And also, there are also other aspects where the mining industry has also been slapped with some 3% tax, and that conversation is already there. And so, but it is actually interesting to see the government going into some of these activities to actually try and understand some of the problems we have in terms of the irregularities and the illegal mining going on in the country. Just like you put it, that if you actually go into the data set, you see a number of duplications and all of that. So it'll be interesting to see how the audits, maybe by the Lands and Natural Resource Ministry, the revelation that it will be. But the most important thing is that the minister has taken a decision to actually withdraw all possibly small-scale mining lines that were actually issued after December 7th. Right,
Kofi Olivia, thank you so much for coming through. And of course, Kofi Minta is from our research desk. And still on this matter, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Kofi-Boa, has also been briefing Parliament on steps being taken by government to deal with the issue of illegal mining. According to him, illegal miners had hijacked some forest reserves, and they've managed to, retrieve some of them. Let's go to Parliament and listen to him.
I was alarmed at the levels of devastation of our forest reserves. That prompted me to make a statement on this floor of Parliament on the state of our forest reserves and water bodies, and a call on the people of Ghana, including the members of Parliament, to join in this fight to reclaim our forest reserves. At the time, I had stated that 9 of these forest reserves, where armed thugs had taken over and are considered to be no-go areas, included Jimera, Extension, Biziri, Afao Hills, Tano Ahia, Ofin Shelter Belt, Ahwasu East, Ahmiasu South, Subri River, Asenanyo River. Mr. Speaker, I am very happy to announce that with the support of the military working closely with the Forestry Commission, we have been able to flush out the tax from 7 out of the 9 forest reserves. We are on course to reclaim the last 2 as well as we speak. This notwithstanding, surveillance is being kept at all these 7 reclaimed forest reserves to ensure that they are not re-invaded. Mr. Speaker, currently, through collaboration with the military over the last 3 weeks, we have, as I stated earlier in my other question, seized a lot of equipment, and I won't be repetitious here. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the above, my ministry is working closely with the Forestry Commission to source for support to procure key logistics, such as 4x4 vehicles, motorbikes, to improve mobility of officers.
Again, the Lands Minister has also reviewed the seizure of champagne, excavators, and guns from illegal miners.
Seizures so far made include 25 champagne equipment, 56 excavators, 2 payloaders, 3 bulldozers, 3 pickup trucks, 7 pumping machines, 4 pump action rifles, among others. In addition, a total of 18 persons have so far been arrested and handed over to the police for prosecution. Mr. Speaker, the ministry has also undertaken engagement with key stakeholders, including members of parliament, chiefs and traditional authorities, civil society, key voices, to seek their views and support in tackling this menace. As part of His Excellency President Mohammed's 120-day social contract with the people of Ghana, my ministry has worked closely with the Attorney General and the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology to amend LI 2462 to ban further mining in forest reserve. So the whole mining scheme is going to change. We have also laid out a technical review, licensing review committee that is going to review all small-scale mining licenses that has been issued. We've also effective this morning, based on the report we have, revoked all licenses that were issued December 7th. Because it is very, very clear that those licenses did not follow due process.
All right, so this is latest coming from the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Let's subject it to some scrutiny. And Ahmed Suale is coordinator of Eco-Conscious Citizens, and she joins me via Zoom. Ahmed, good afternoon. Welcome to the poll. So the Minister has announced a few things today. First is the revocation of all small-scale mining licenses issued after the December 7th general elections. Is this something that you welcome?
I mean, we welcome it with cautious optimism. It's a step in the right direction. But of course, there are many more thousands of small-scale licenses, and we don't know what monitoring and is actually going on. So the issue is the monitoring, and it's because we can't monitor, and there are thousands of them. That was why we set a pause on community mining. So it's a step in the right direction, but it hasn't completely solved the problem because we still have thousands of licenses that were issued before December 7th, which need to be scrutinized. And the most important thing is the monitoring to ensure that the proper, that the mining is being done responsibly, because whether or not you have a license, the issue is whether or not you're mining responsibly.
But we also heard the minister say that they are also reviewing all small-scale mining licenses issued. So that answers your concern.
You can review, yes. So you have, when you're reviewing it, you have to go to where they are mining. Do they have all systems in place? For example, when you are mining, you need to have the tailings, which store the water so that you can wash the gold in the water and not wash it into the source of drinking water of the community. Who is monitoring? Who is ensuring that the proper thing is being done? So what we are saying is that it's not just that you've gone through the due process and what exactly are you reviewing? It's more to ensure that those who are operating in a responsible manner. That is the issue.
On the ground, what do you see as far as activities of small-scale miners are concerned?
Well, those on the ground are pretty upset at what is going on. The images speak for themselves. And there is no indication that we are coming to the end of this saga. This problem, as you know, has been going on for a very, very, very long time. But there were some systems that we asked to be put in place, which haven't yet done. And let me say this at this stage, that we asked in clear terms for the revocation of LI 2462, which allowed for mining in forest reserves.
We'll come to that.
No, please. Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
So I first wanted to deal with this small-scale mining issue. So the issue is about those they can identify and trace. I know there are thousands that have no regulation, but they are working. So the minister's first port of call is that let's first deal with licenses that were issued after the general elections because they didn't go through the right process.
Yeah, so that's the strategy, dealing with those that were issued after December 7th. Fair enough. That's why I said it's a step in the right direction. But I did say that we are greeting it with cautious optimism, because it's a step in the right direction, but there are so many thousands of licenses that were issued pre-December 7th. And many in the community say that, as far as they are concerned, some of the activities of the small-scale miners, community miners, are the same as the illegal miners. Right. They don't really see a difference. So that is one of the concerns that the communities have.
But what should government do then in terms of going after those who may not have the license? And for that reason, tracing them becomes very difficult. Those are the ones, even though we may assume that some small-scale miners are also causing damage to the environment, but those without any regulations are the ones who for want of a better word, are causing the most danger. And those people is difficult to identify.
Danger is being caused by anyone who is mining irresponsibly. Just liken it to a driving license. I have a driving license, which means that I've gone through the regulations. I know the right thing to do. But if nobody is enforcing, I drive whilst drunk, I drive on the pavement, I ignore the highway code, it's of no use that I have a driving license. So in the same way, we are saying that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of licenses that have been issued before December 7th. Nobody is monitoring adequately. So we don't know how, whether or not they're adhering to the rules and regulations. According to so many in the community, they are not. So a lot of course, they are the good ones, but a lot of them are operating without any regulation. So that was why what was asked for was a pause in all community mining, so that you go through the system and you find out who is doing the right thing, who isn't doing the right thing. Because whilst we have rightly revoked the licenses of those which are hurriedly issued after December 7th, those that were issued before could be, as we speak, poisoning our water bodies.
And the minister again announced today that they've managed to secure 7 out of the 9 forest reserves now in control of government. It is patting itself on the back. They also seize shamfan, guns, and other things that's being used by illegal miners. Does this suggest that the fight against illegal mining is taking a good shape based on what the minister told Parliament today?
Well, it suggests that we are winning some battles, but not necessarily the war. And what I would say is that we heard some of these stories during the previous administration, that they had reclaimed some forest reserves. And later on, it was found out that was not actually the case. So the way it says, yes, they may have, we have to verify the information. We treat it with caution. We welcome it, but we treat it with caution. We welcome it. So it is possible that 7 have been reclaimed, but we don't know if they are hiding somewhere and they are going to come back. How long is anybody going to stay there to ensure that they don't come back? What systems have been put in place to ensure that it's sustainable? So yes, we want to be gracious and say that some good work is being done, but we also need to be conscious of the fact that these pronouncements have been made before, and the result has been that the environmental terrorists came back. So what steps have been put in place to ensure that this doesn't happen this time round?
Now, let's shift to one concern that you have, and indeed is a concern for those who are against illegal mining in all its forms. Yesterday, we were expecting the laying of this instrument to, to do some amendment to the Environmental Protection Law, LI 2462. Now, the first deputy speaker is allowing a 3-day window so that there could be some kind of discussion around what government intentions are. And then on Thursday, the expectation is that the instrument will be laid, will travel the 21 days maturation period, and if there is no opposition against it, it will become a law. Now, we've been told by the majority leader, Mahama Yariga, that they are only amending just a clause, the clause that gives rights for people to invade our forest reserve and mine in there. Is that the only thing you've been fighting, or the totality of the entire law?
We find what is going on completely disingenuous. Because when the president was in opposition, he said that when they came to power, they'll repeal, the word was repeal, they would repeal LI 2462. What they were trying to do yesterday was, as he said, to amend. And we have said the whole law is not fit for purpose. It's not just Section 3.1, which allows the president to give approval to mine in globally significant biodiversity area. There's so many aspects of it that are inconsistent. So we have said repeal the whole law. So to say you are going to do it, and then when you come, you are rather trying to just amend, I think that is worrying. And if you do something like that, then credibility becomes an issue. So we have asked for the complete revocation, not amendment, revocation of LI 2462.
Because I think that in this whole discussion, the matter that come up strongly for attention is the grant of access to forest reserve to mine in there. Apart from that particular clause, what other clause in the regulation that you strongly feel that must also be tackled?
If my information is correct, what was being amended was not the mining in forest reserves, but the authority of the president to allow mining in globally significant biodiversity areas.
Right.
So it's not mining in forest reserve. Let's get that completely clear. You can still mine in forest reserve, but the president cannot just, by a written whatever approval, allow mining in globally significant biodiversity area. What we wanted was that there should be no mining in forest reserves. And also, LI 2462, we have said, is perverse because the previous laws, there was at least a 2% a protection that you could only mine in 2% of the forest reserve.
Right.
Now that protection has been removed. And the experts like Darrell Dosu of and others will tell you that the whole law is just not fit for purpose. So what we asked you to do, which you said you were going to do, was to revoke the whole law, and then you can sit down and see if there's a need to do so, to bring an amendment to the law, which really should be sponsored by the Forestry Commission.
Right.
Because it's the Forestry Commission which is tasked with protecting our forest reserves.
The window of opportunity will close tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. The Speaker expects that the instrument will be laid. I'm wondering whether between today and tomorrow, is there any plan from persons like you and other groups that are seriously against illegal mining to make a representation to Parliament as they do the pre-laying, discussions?
Well, even if we don't do that, the president himself, you see, we have to be credible. The president himself said he was going to revoke it. So if this is not done, we will continue our campaigns. We actually have a case in court, which is asking for the revocation of LI 2462. So we will continue campaigning until LI 2462 and EI 144, which declassifies parts of Achimota Forest, are revoked. So whatever happens with this law, we are going to continue. We are resolute and will continue until the law is revoked, not amended. And we are just disappointed that there seems to be an attempt to be a little disingenuous by doing one thing when we promise to do something else.
All right, we'll leave it here and wait to see what government real intention is tomorrow when the laying is done, and then we'll get to understand the content of the instrument. But away from that, or still staying on this related matter, is the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners in the Ashanti region threatening a standoff with a group claiming to be an anti-galamsey task force, extorting money from miners. Some members say they have paid huge sums of money to the group frequenting their sites, though some arrests have been made by the Office of the Regional Security Coordinator. The miners say other groups continue to resist. Nana Yaljima has more in this report.
The anti-galamsey task force of the Ashanti Regional Security Council recently commenced operations turning attention to forests, water bodies and major roads. But information gathered indicates the presence of another task force targeting registered small-scale miners and threatening to seize their equipment. On 2 occasions, the miners claim their concessions in the Amansia West district were invaded by the fake security operatives. Small-scale miner Kwaku Abone explains the cover of the group was later blown, but they escaped arrest.
Police car na idi animu na o ma high prado mienu People come dressed like security operatives and go to mining sites, taking parts of excavators and demand for money. We called to inquire whether the operation was sanctioned, and the regional security coordinator denied knowledge of it. We were asked to arrest them. The people started shooting into our vehicles, injuring one person. That's how they escaped.
Some miners have lost up to 200,000 cedis to the group over threats to seize their excavators. PRO for Nassam, Edujemfi, says they may resort to violence to protect their property.
If you get the message from some of our members from other zones, the next time such incident happens, they will not allow themselves to be taken over. And there could be a possible clash that could create fatalities. We are welcoming any operation by the government. We are not saying that the government shouldn't go about on operations. We welcome that, but what we want is that it must be well organized, it must be well informed, and it must be officially done by the government.
Meanwhile, the Office of the Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator has reviewed steps to deal with the imposters. Captain retired John Jabari explains some arrests have already been effected and prosecution underway.
With the assistance of the police, we have almost all the groups that went out or people who were parading like that, we were able to affect the arrest, so we are able to do that. We are collaborating with the police in this aspect because we are not presently in all the districts at the same time, so most of them will fall on their roadblocks or barriers to assist us in this effort. So, but we have given small-scale miners our hotlines or operational numbers so that they could quickly alert us. If it is us, we'll let them know. If it is not us, we'll tell them who, or we'll let those people get arrested. So it's not a problem. We are trying to handle it over there.
Mr. Jabari wants miners to exercise restraint and support the security operatives in arrest of the corporate.
All right, so let's come back to the studio now, and we will still deal with the issue of legal mining much later. But for now, a matter that has been on the books for some time now is seeing some life. The Medina Magistrate Court has remanded into custody Daniel Osu-Kranton, a suspect in the Ahmed Suale assassination. He is being held on a provisional murder charge. The arrest marks a major breakthrough in a case that has come cold for years, well, 6 years and counting, raising concerns about security and safety of journalists in Ghana. Member of our Legal Affairs Desk, Latif Idrisu, joins me in studio with details of what transpired in court today. So, Latif, finally, 6 years has been on and off. Now they have a suspect.
Yeah.
So, how did it go in court today?
So, a little bit about the suspect. So, the suspect, as you mentioned the name, the Daniel Osu-Kranton, happened to be a former colleague of the deceased, that is Ahmed Suale. They both worked with the Tiger Eye PI, that is Anansi's investigative company, if you like. And then at a certain point during their employment with the investigative journalist, they had to part ways. And so he didn't work for Anas, and then Ahmed Suale was still working for Anas. And we all know what Ahmed Suale did when he collaborated with the BBC to expose some corruption within African football. The charge sheet, as presented by prosecution today, says that the suspect has admitted that he knew Ahmed Suale.
Right.
He had taken photographs of Ahmed Suale.
For what purpose?
Well, as friends, you know, sometimes you take selfies, you could take photos of each other and all of that. He knows the member of parliament the former member of parliament for Asin Central, that is Kennedy Jap. I'm mentioning the names because these are captured in the charge sheet as presented by prosecution in court.
Right.
He visits the former member of parliament and he visits Ahmed Suale when he was alive. He admitted to all of these, but he disagreed with prosecution that he is the one who sold Ahmed Suale's photos to the former member of parliament for Asin Central.
Right.
that he has denied knowledge of. Yes, he says he has the photos, but he never sold it to the former member of parliament. And we all know, and in the charge sheet it was captured, that after the sale of the photos to the former member of parliament, he sat on his television, brandished the photos, and we all know that subsequently Ahmed Suale was assassinated. The charge sheet also states that on the night Ahmed Suale was assassinated, call records, and if you follow the story, Ahmed Suale's phone was taken to the United States.
Right.
And that the FBI has been part of these investigations. So the records has been extracted by the intelligence services and all of that shows that on the night of Ahmed Suale's assassination, Daniel Owusu-Kranteng was spotted or was traced, and I'm using the words as captured in the charge, it was traced to the residence of the deceased, Ahmed Suale. Immediately after the assassination, that was around 11:15 p.m., he fled, and fled is captured in the charge sheet. He fled the residence or the neighborhood to his Amasaman residence.
This is the account of the prosecutors before court today.
Before court today. And so when you put all of these together, they also come to the point that he has been turning down invitation to come and assist with investigation.
Come as in come to Ghana or come to the police station.
Well, so that is not clear. The point is, according to the prosecution, he's been turning down invitation to come and assist with investigations. We do not know whether here in this jurisdiction or he was away and they wanted him to come down and he declined. So according to prosecution, if you put all these pieces together, they are of the view that Daniel Owusu-Kranteng is a suspect in the murder, and so he's been charged provisionally with murder of the deceased undercover journalist.
And did the suspect or his lawyer speak in court?
Yes, so the lead counsel for Daniel Kranteng, Kofi Esel, he made a strong case. And I must say, when the prosecution labeled or read out and said we are charging him for murder, the judge, the sitting judge, was surprised. He was like, really? Because someone sold, and I'm trying to paraphrase what the judge said, just because he sold a photograph to someone, does that qualify for him to be labeled as the murderer of the deceased? She put that question to the prosecution. And then the prosecution said, well, we are willing and ready to amend the charges as we move.
Meaning it could change from murder to another charge?
Yeah, it could change, potentially, because they admitted essentially to the judge that they need more time to carry out their investigations, and then the charge of murder, there is the high chance that that would change on the 1st of April when the case is recalled at the court. So the lawyer, to answer your question, he was very clear in court that the allegations made by prosecution was shambolic, and these are his words. They are shambolic because they are all allegations. There is nothing to hold on to, and so they cannot charge his client. And he made a plea to the judge to grant his client a bail, but the judge, in her own discretion, decided that she needed to keep the suspect in custody for his safety, primarily because there are heavy weights involved in this matter. Names have been mentioned, and these are heavyweights. So for his own safety, he has to be kept in custody until the next agenda.
I think you spoke to the lawyer. We can listen to him and then bring him on.
Okay.
The police hurriedly put a charge sheet together. A charge sheet on an offense of murder. First, we were talking about abatement. Today, we were sprung up with a surprise charge sheet with one count of murder. And they prayed the court to remand our client with no basis.
You describe it as shambolic charge.
Shambolic charge sheet. I said so in court, because they have nothing on our client. It's just a multitude of suspicions and allegations and hearsays that have been put together. And the law never crystallized any evidence. It is just for someone's career to shoot up. and someone has to go down, and that's what they are doing. It's just mere witch hunting, and we'll deal with it in the law courts. We are not media men, we are not journalists. We'll deal with it in the law courts. So the investigation is being perpetuity. We started this investigation in 2019. We invited our clients, we said we will come, and we missed out on one day. We come arresting him, we want a remand. I wouldn't want to say more. We don't want to go into details on it. Yes.
You are coming back on the 1st
April.
of April.
Yes, we'll be here.
What do you expect to happen on the 1st of April when you get?
The police said they would amend their charge sheet. As I said, it's shambolic. It doesn't hold any water.
So we'll bring on the lawyer for the suspects. In this case, the suspect who is being charged provisionally with murder. And we'll hear from him pretty shortly. So Latif, when next is the case back in court?
So the case is back on the 1st of April, by which time the expectation is that the prosecution would have gone far with their investigations, and then the appropriate or the proper charges will be leveled against the suspect at this initial stage of what has, like you said in your intro, this has gone on close to 6 years.
Right.
I mean, and we expect some closure on this particular matter.
Let me bring in a lawyer for suspect Kofi Esiel. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to the Pulse.
Yes. Good afternoon.
So, for you, how did it go in court for you and your client?
Yes. I like the way you introduced the matter. Now, the matter has been going on for 6 years.
Right.
For 6 years, if you say you have something on a suspect, I believe, regarding the way they came to court, if they had the facts right, the circumstances surrounding all the facts they put around, that my client ran away and all that, those are not the proper facts. He traveled. For someone to travel and come back to Ghana, for a murder case that you have been going around 6 years, and he has just traveled with a clear conscience and come back into Ghana, and you just put facts together and say that he ran out of the jurisdiction and then came back and all that. They are not proper facts. They are not true.
Meaning what? Your client has been staying and working in Ghana all this while?
If you want me to go into it, is it Erastus I'm talking to?
No, this is Elton, sir.
Elton, yes. You know my client. He has been in collaboration with Joy FM.
Yes.
With this FDA expose. He's in country. He has done FDA expose, Pharmacy Council. It's different expose, which he's run with Joy FM. There are some in court with injunctions on them. He has been working. He is in country. He has never gone anywhere apart from traveling once some years ago. He has been in country. So I don't know what the police are saying. And if you come to court and you said you prefer proper charges, so what did you come to curtail the freedom of a citizen of Ghana, all in the name of the brute force of the police service? We just pray the court will not lend its arm to such lawlessness by the police, because it's not right. If you don't have anything, you let the person go. There's a presumption of innocence, not presumption of guilt. And this practice of remand, it's like a constructive conviction. The person is convicted, go and be in prison custody or police custody. I see it. We've gone to it's retrograde. It's retrograde in our judicial system, in our justice system. To be always latching onto remand, the police will always come remand. Why can't you do solid investigation before you put someone before in a trial on a matter of a murder? Where you have to go by indictment, you do committals and then you go into the proper trial. If you haven't gotten anything on him, why come and keep him?
Are you aware when he became a person of interest to the police?
I was engaged at the time, and my instructions and the information I have is what my client has informed me as to when the police have within the administrative arrangements, when he became a person of interest, I can't tell. It's with the police, with the domain of the police to tell when. And a person of interest should also could have been invited, one way or the other. If you said, I mean, these are circumstantial evidence just put together, lumped together. That's why I said they are shambolic. The charges of a shambolic. There's no evidence to back it. There's no facts. The facts behind the charges, nothing. The brief facts are nothing to. It doesn't hold any water. Let alone to establish a guilt and conviction.
I asked because in one breath we have been told that this suspect had run out of the jurisdiction. In another breath we have also been told that he was in a way assisting.
Going on, and I don't like media warfare. As a lawyer, I do my practice in the court.
Yes.
Because Ahmed was a media person, my client is also a media person. We know the media will be very interested, but we should be circumspect in our reportage. We should deal with the law as it is. The sacrosanctity of the law, and not just media hype and scheming.
And I'm asking whether, was there any point he was assisting the police in their investigation relating to this matter?
He has been. Since Saturday, he's been assisting them. He's interrogated, taking statements, caution statements, and all that. And how can you even say in one breath he disclosed? Look at the brief fact. He disclosed pictures. One breath. In another breath, he's being charged with murder proper. I mean, I don't have to be their work for them, so I don't know what they want. They just want to remand him. So that's why they came with this bogus charge against him today. It is all that the police want.
So if I understand,
that is not the position of the law.
If I understand, the reason why he's been charged with murder is because he has pictures of the deceased.
That he's a friend, he's his colleague. If he has ever had pictures, they haven't even established that. If he has ever had pictures of him, they are friends, they are colleagues. I don't think they hide themselves at Tiger IPI, where they used to work. They don't mask up at Tiger Eye, they work together. And there's that conviviality between them. They play, they joke, they eat together. So what is it with pictures or whatever? But we'll get there. How they will prove this charge of murder. I hope they will not go and then hurriedly do something else, because they come with a charge of murder against him. And then the whole world has seen it. So we live to see and we wait to see.
But what is your client's reaction to the claim that he sold the pictures of Ahmed Suale to Canada, Japan?
It's obvious. A man who is innocent was taken aback and surprised that what is this? I have never sold any pictures and all that. So I don't know where they are coming from that he sold pictures.
But if he sold the pictures to Japan,
they would have to prove it beyond the reasonable doubt. If he ever sold it, where that mercantile transaction took place.
Did he or did he not sell the pictures to Canada, Japan?
Oh, this question you're asking me, we are going into a criminal matter, and you are asking me, a lawyer, for the accused.
I'm guessing by now there's been some kind of conversation between the two of you, because that is the police hook in all of this that we've been told.
He never did, if he wanted that way. But you can't, in law, I'm saying that it is on the facts and the evidence. They will get to that point in the court. But I can say on authority that he never did. He never did. If you want that kind of statement.
Do you expect the prosecution?
I believe in his innocence as a lawyer.
All right.
As his lawyer.
Do you expect the prosecution to amend the charge?
That's why I said I don't have to do their work for them. What they came with, we will go with that. But the whole world has seen the charge they came with, so everybody has said what they came with.
The judge.
Well, I don't have to teach them their work or say, and you know, such prosecutions, the AGs will be passed. So let's see.
The judge who is presiding over the case, we are told, said that she had to remand him because of the other people connected to this case. I don't know what that means for you.
Yes. So you with the judge and then the matter, the pronouncement or the statement by the court, I wouldn't want to comment on them. I just granted this interview just to comment on some of the peripherals, but not the substantive matter. And then what the court said and all that. Yes, but then it goes without saying we are all men of appreciable intelligence and basic understanding of the law. So everybody would make a judgment. The public will make their judgment that if a matter you now are going around fishing for suspects and whatever, and then you've already slapped someone with a charge of murder. Now you want to say you have other suspects. That's what I'm saying, that this circumstantial evidence they are claiming they have. When we talk about circumstantial evidence, you should point to only one and only person, or only the accused person, whoever they are, the number. Those accused persons you think you are the culpable people, and not other probable culprits. Otherwise, it doesn't hold in water. It's just allegations. And these are all they are latching on with some circumstantial evidence they believe they have.
Okay.
Yes.
My final question, now that your client is in custody, you have any concerns about his well-being?
Yes, I am very, very concerned. Otherwise, I won't be granting this interview. So the media should have their eyes on everywhere so that his rights are protected as a Ghanaian, a citizen. That nobody flouts the law in any way, just to coerce him or do anything against him.
We have lost him, Mr. Kofi Esiel. He's lawyer for the suspects in custody. He's the suspect, the name again?
Daniel
Owusu is being held on murder charge.
Provisional murder
charge in relation to the murder of Ahmed Suale. So were there family members in court today?
Yes, there was one family member, a female who came, sat close by Daniel Kranting, who was wearing a nose mask in a long sleeve sea blue long sleeve shirt and a blue jeans with brown boots to match, with ponytail, and he looked very calm. I mean, he is very confident in my interaction that he's in fact innocent of all the statement that has been put together by prosecution, and that he's going to come out clean on this particular matter.
Thank you very much, Latif, for this update from court. Let's take a short break here on the pause and return with more stories. Welcome back. Now let me take you to the Oti region, where regenerative agriculture is helping farmers adapt to unpredictable weather patterns whilst addressing key climate challenges. This sustainable method restores soil health, boosts carbon segregation, and protects biodiversity, making farm more resilient to climate change. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin visited a regenerative farm for climate focus and reports that a substantial amount of the aqueduct used for farming practice has been restored.
Clement Matumasin has just arrived at one of the plantations. Clement, who pioneered the regenerative agricultural method in Zangomacheri, believes it helps smallholder farmers to increase yield while protecting the environment.
The space is called Dream Village, and Dream Village is just basically the hub to empower young people and also the community to become more resilient in terms of food production, entrepreneurship training, and also just basically enhancing the quality of life in the rural settings. This is one of our hubs, which is in Zongo Macheri. We are currently developing the next hub in Dambai. So basically that's Dream Village. It's a place where people find their dreams.
It was a dream in 2007 that became a reality 10 years later, and Clement has now produced a variety of crops and plants on his 100 acres of farmland to supply food while also regreening the earth.
Dream Village was basically born from me. I had once upon a time grew up on the street. Other people helped me to become who I am, and I realized that I also had to find a way to give back to society. And I wanted to do that through community, through storytelling, and through my sharing and interaction with several people. In 2007, I created a mural art, a visual interpretation of what I think an ideal village will look like. And through that, we started about 10 years after that, we started implementing how the ideal village will look like. And this is the inception.
The structures here are eco-friendly.
The entire concept of this place is to create systems that helps us to live together with nature. And as you can see, even our architecture is using mud housing, using eco-habitat. We try as much as possible to avoid cutting trees, planting more trees, encouraging us to live together with nature. So this really is a hub that shows that we can actually live with nature without destroying everything that comes our way.
The regenerative farming project has evolved into a hub for research and training of students to become better knowledge providers.
Some of our students graduated, they got jobs, they are all created jobs. In fact, in the next town, some of our students is also training other people to achieve their dreams. So there are quite some success stories. Besides that, we have the agroforestry demonstration farm that is still in existence, where people can learn about agroforestry or syntropic agriculture. Yeah, and quite a lot of young people came here to find inspiration, did their research. So there are quite some success stories. I mean, it's not all dark and gloom. But
Clement is inspired by his previous failures and learnings. He has bigger dreams.
From here, we are inspired through the learnings and the mistakes and everything that we had here. Is what to establish something like this is, first and foremost, you have to have a dream of what you want. Secondly, you have to have the consistency and the passion to develop it. Because once upon a time, I had my own job as an IT expert in Tamale. I didn't need to come into the village, struggle to drive out mosquitoes and building structures and stuff like that. But I realized that we need to create an inspirational hub to inspire young people, especially young Africans like me.
Given the variety of challenges confronting food growers in recent years, farmers want farming method on which they can rely to produce high yields during difficult periods such as the influence of shifting weather patterns. Clement's project demonstrates that regenerative agriculture can help farmers solve a variety of problems. He says the numbers are encouraging, as do the testimonies of other farmers who benefited from the program, such as the Moringa Mothers Cooperative.
Jumano, Moringa na Jumano, Yasum, ye huwa juma ya ni adria.
Mariama Kwame, one of the project beneficiaries, says she is able to prepare diverse meals and meet other basic needs.
Banana. We
grow bananas, beans, and maize, among other crops whose names I don't know in English. We can now make a variety of meals.
The intervention excites Ekuya Nimkabu.
The intervention is beneficial to us.
And restoring the once degraded area to its natural state makes Abu Mansa happier.
The area had been degraded in the past, but it has now been restored and can be used for planting.
Clement is inspired by the power of learning from nature to establish a new site for regenerative college in Dambai.
Yeah, and from here we are inspired through the learnings and the mistakes and everything that we had here is what we are using to develop the regenerative college. So it's an experience that we continue to develop.
For him, giving back to the society in the form of environmental protection has become his primary interest. A report by Mohamed Nuruddin.
Climate Focus is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, Bridging Gaps for Positive Youth Development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
Of course, we'll also talk about climate change because the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has launched phase 2 of the Youth Climate Action Fund today. Now, the AMA City Hall, as part of Climate Focus Day, the initiative aims to empower young people to drive local climate solutions And joining me in the studio is Engineer Solomon Noin, Head of Waste Management. Engineer, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And of course, Ben Smith Afo, Assistant Director of Administration at the AMA. Ben, you're also welcome. Thank you. So let me start with the engineer. Why is this important? Why climate the focus?
Yes, thank you very much. So we realized that over the past years, we've been adopting what we call the linear model of waste value chain, extract, produce, use, and throw away. And that led to a lot of accumulation of refuse all over the city of Accra.
Right.
We could count about 5 of them, Malam, Oblogo, Achimota, a lot of them. But AMA happens to be part of the C40 cities worldwide. And as a result, we realized that we needed to do something urgent to handle our waste management practices, which was not good anyway. Coupled with that, there was no land anymore that can be used as a form of a final disposal site. As we speak, we dump all the way in the eastern region. And so there was the need for us to adapt the circular model of waste value chain so that recycling, reuse, energy extraction, and all that will be infused into our waste management practices. Hence, the launch of this particular program, which we are tapping the innovations from the youth between the ages of 15 to 24 years, so that they can come up with their own innovative solutions along the Accra Climate Action Plan that we have.
Okay, I'll come back. Let me also allow Ben his introductory remarks. So why the youth, Ben? All right. So, engineer, I mean, so basically, it's becoming difficult to dispose of our waste.
Very. Because we do not process our waste. What we have to do is to process the waste. Unfortunately, our management practice is said that we co-mingle our waste, we mix everything together. Now, when you mix everything together, it doesn't make processing very well. Let me give you one example. At least, we should be doing 2 ways of separation, wet waste and dry waste.
Right.
The wet waste is mostly the organics. Now, if you mix organics together and then we take it to a mechanical recycling facility to separate, it will do the separation all right. But don't forget, assuming somebody has finished using battery in his tape or whatever, he dumps that battery into the waste bin. It leaches the carbon, everything into the organics. So at the end of the day, the compost that will be produced from the organics from the mechanical recycling facility cannot be without heavy metals that are unwanted. So it will not meet the agricultural standards. And there is no artificial intelligence, no machine under the surface of this earth that can do that separation unless human beings. Once you do that, then definitely you get compost or fertilizer that can meet the standards for crop cultivation. At the same time, the dry waste will be taken through various recycling and reprocessing for use.
That's a lot of work.
Yes.
And I'm guessing that AMA alone may not have the resources and the machinery to do it. But I also do know that there are a lot of waste management companies already in town. I'm sure the AMA has contract with some of these things.
Yes.
Doesn't the contract extend to how do we manage the waste or turn the waste into a more productive ventures?
Yes, so currently we are reviewing our franchise agreements so that the companies will also fall in line with at least our 2 ways of separation. We launched this source separation somewhere in 2022. We are currently in the phase where we are doing sensitization and then education. It will be backed by the needed infrastructure that will process the various source-separated waste. So if you're a waste management company and want to do business with Accra Metropolitan Assembly, you must also follow suit. You bring one car anyway, but it must be compartmentalized.
Right.
So that you don't put organics to mix with the dry waste.
So currently, the waste that we generate and collect, the percentage that is able to recycle? Do we have those figures?
It's less than 5%.
Less than 5%.
Yes.
So the 95%
is all dumped in the landfill.
And we don't even have the land to continually collect them.
Not at all.
So what is the danger therein if we are not able to resolve this particular matter?
Yes, so the danger is we will keep moving further and further and further from Accra.
Just to find space to dump our waste.
To dump, and it will increase the cost of what we call managing waste. At the same time, our carbon footprint will also increase. You are collecting waste and you are emitting carbon just to go and dump, and that it will not send us anywhere. That is why we want the youth to come in with innovative ideas, brilliant ideas, and they will own it and be able to sustain it come the next 30, 40 years.
Ben, what do we expect from those who want to take part in this program?
Okay, so the program is basically for youth within the age group of 15 to 24, and they are to bring proposals, that has initiatives or innovations towards climate action. And it will be reviewed, and if your project is very good and encouraging, then of course you'll be given funding to carry it out.
And this funding is coming from the AMA?
Yes, it's coming from AMA in partnership with the Bloomberg Philanthropists. The Bloomberg Philanthropists are the sponsors of the project.
And how much are we talking about here?
So the grant is going to be between $1,000 to $5,000, depending on your project size, the costing, and then the review committee will have to look at it.
So basically, we are supposed to propose, and that's how I want to go about it.
Yes.
And then what? Somebody else take it from there?
Yeah, so you write a proposal, you state the problem and what you want to solve, and then how much you need. Then you will submit it online. Then we will take it from there. So there will be a committee that will look at it, review it, and see if your project falls in line with the Accra Climate Action Plan. Of course, all the projects or initiatives should fall within the Accra Climate Action Plan. So if it falls within and is taken, then of course you'll be giving the grant between $1,000 to $5,000.
Right. And I do realize that this is phase 2.
Yes.
You've done phase 1.
Yes.
So what's the learnings from phase 1?
Yes. So the learning from phase 1 is that some brilliant ideas came up, and then some of the youth facilitated the implementation of anaerobic digestion plant to generate biogas from the organic waste. One was installed at St. Mary's Senior High School.
And it's working?
It's working, and it's in operation as we speak.
So what does it what does it do?
Yes, so it is an on-site facility. If we say on-site, it means it's taking the organic waste right at the point of generation and processing it. So they generate the waste from the kitchen, and then they are taught what to do as a science club or something.
Right.
Then they feed it into the anaerobic digestion plant. Then the plant will also take it through the biological processes. Methane gas comes out, and it is tapped back into the kitchen.
For cooking.
And that gas they used to cook?
Yes.
Which means this is something, if replicated on a large scale, will help address some of our
energy. So that is the
energy challenges.
Some of the shining stars we got in phase 1,
scaling up.
And in phase 2 we can scale that up. Our interest is for more people to take interest in the on-site facility. This is the trick. If you are in a community and just one person is able to own this facility,
right,
then adjoining neighbors will be sending their organic waste to this facility. Of course, the gas will be generated, and the gas will come at a point where it will not be compressed to the temperature and the pressure that you can bottle into a cylinder.
And I actually see a business idea where even it will get to a point where the waste may even be sold.
Yes.
Because it is a feedstock.
Yes.
The waste is actually feedstock. But as we speak, we are not being innovative enough. And this is money we are wasting away, and we don't even have the land for it.
All right. So basically, the bringing in of the youth, is this to test their level of innovation or get them involved in solving this particular problem? Because I'm sure that if you want expert advice, you will easily get it.
Yes. So this is it. In climate change, the fact is that, if you care to know, it is the environment and then the natural resources and the ecosystem that you see. We are borrowing it to use from generations yet unborn.
Right.
And not the reverse. We have that mentality that we inherited them from our forefathers. No. if you have that mentality, then how long will you last on this earth?
Yeah.
So you just use and spoil it and go, forgetting that if those before you spoiled it, you wouldn't have come to meet it. So if we have that mentality of borrowing it from the generations yet unborn, then it is the youth who should get this into their psyche and then come up with these innovations and be able to get sustainable means and improving upon a better environment that they will also leave behind for their generations to come after them.
So Ben, looking at the phase one, you expect a lot of patronage for the next phase of this project?
Yes, I mean, today at the launch, we had about 320 youth groups from all over.
Meaning they're already on board?
Yeah, yes, please, yeah. In the phase one, several applications were received, but because of limited funding, we could only support 12 youth-led initiatives. But this time around, we are looking at supporting 25 youth.
25. So walk us through, is the portal already open? How do people apply to submit their proposals?
Okay, so when the proposal is ready, you go online and you submit it at resilience@ama.gov.gh.
Please go over it again.
resilience@ama.gov.gh. So that is where you will submit. It's a soft copy, you submit the soft copy.
And then after that?
Then after that, we will have an ideation workshop. It will be communicated. We will get all those applicants at the workshop, and then we'll have discussions with them, technical support, advice, guidance as to how they can fine-tune their projects and proposals to suit the Accra Climate Action Plan.
And when is the deadline for the submission of applications?
Yeah, so application has started today. It is ending by 14th of April.
14th of
April, yes.
And there's no money involved. You don't buy a form. You just go on the portal and then submit everything.
Just online, they will just submit it.
And there's no limit, and there's no limit to the number that can apply.
Yes, there's no limit.
And then when that is done, what they will have an opportunity to pitch their proposal before a panel of judges.
Yes, please. That's exactly what is going to happen. So we will review all of them, and then we will call them. You know, as I said earlier, there will be an ideation workshop where all the applicants will be invited, and they'll be giving technical advice and coaching, mentorship. Even if you don't get the grant, at least you will get some fine-tuning, some mentorship, some technical advice, so that in the next phase, if you happen to do a phase 3, you can also be enrolled.
Let me allow engineer to wrap it up for us. So what your own expectation?
Yes, my expectation is that this will lead to a paradigm shift in our management practice when it comes to sanitation.
Right.
And we should also take that opportunity and advantage to get into our minds that the way to go in
Are we
future,
taking climate change seriously as a country?
That is it. The fact that we are not having basic source separation in Europe and the Western countries is a norm. Kindergarten children are taught in their educational institutions how to source separate waste.
Right.
So we should also begin, and it is programs like this that would lead us to that particular path and not co-mingling our waste.
All right, we'll monitor this. Thank you so much, Engineer and Ben, for coming through. And of course, you said the portal is open, so those who have ideas to help solve climate issues, they should apply, and then the grant is there between $1,000 and $5,000.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Okay, so let's move to the presidency now, and President John Mahama and Sierra Leonean President Julius Maada Bio have emphasized the need for reforms within the United Nations Security Council, with President Mahama's pledging to support President Maada Bio's efforts. Speaking during a news conference after a one-day visit as part of his Good Neighborliness tour, President Mahama stated that the discussions focus on education, security, trade, and how the two countries can enhance the West African power pool to improve power generation and distribution across the region.
Indeed, we have discussed a broad range of issues, and one of the most important points we agreed on was to establish the Permanent Joint Commission for Cooperation as quickly as possible so that it becomes the institutional framework for us to build our cooperation on. There are many areas in which we can work together. And as he said, we discussed issues of agriculture and food security. We discussed issues of power and electricity, and how we can work together to enhance the West African power pool. We discussed issues of education and exchange, and we believe that the Permanent Joint Commission for Cooperation is going to be the best avenue on which we can build this cooperation together. On sub-regional issues, as an old face but a new face in ECOWAS again, we discuss issues to do with the issue of terrorism and the issue of the current Alliance of Sahelian States and ECOWAS. And we compared notes because he had previously visited the three countries and I had just recently visited. So we compared notes and we believe that it can form the basis for us to continue to cooperate as members of the same sub-region. He also briefed me on the effort that is being made to get a common African position on the issue of Security Council reform. And we are very much in support of the efforts that he has been making in that regard. And I pledge to him that we'll continue to work with him so that he can be the advocate for doing that. And so these were the major points of discussion. At the end of it, he gave me a meal of jollof rice, and it was very sumptuous. So I officially invited Sierra Leone to join Ghana and Nigeria in the jollof competition that we've been having.
And we'll stay with this story because President Mahama, after his news briefing with the Sierra Leonean president, met with the Ghanaian community in Sierra Leone. They raised concerns about permits and taxes, which the president said he will help to get it addressed.
Yes. Many presidents also akasa. Also on Omonemotidin, also Ghana for Moya there. We come from Waboma Basso. Okay. No near someone. You okay? Tax no airport how can we be?
I am the deputy there, Abahana Boshe. And I'm very much glad to see you. Yes. And I pray that day to day you come as often as possible to come and check on us. Okay. I'm very, very much excited. Okay. So I'm kind of lost for words. Okay. But then in all, I thank you for coming. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Like I said, President Bill says Ghanaians are peaceful. You're doing your work well, and I mean they live very peacefully with you. And so he actually praised the Ghanaian community. And that's why he said after our meeting, I should come and meet with you and extend their appreciation for the work you're doing here. Yeah. The few issues you've raised about the permits and also about, you talked about tax or something. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll try and raise it and see what progress we can make. Yeah. But well done. Thank you. Yes. God bless you. I will see you when you come home.
All right, so we cannot hear from the Sierra Leonean President Julius Maada Bio, who's also been providing details of his meeting with President Mahama.
To achieve all of these objectives, we agreed to revitalize the General Cooperation Agreement that was signed in 2018 between Ghana and Sierra Leone for the establishment of a permanent Joint Cooperation Commission, JCC. I have also proposed that the inaugural meeting of JCC be held in Ghana at a date to be agreed upon by our foreign ministers. On regional security, we discussed issues bordering on terrorism, violent extremism, conflict in the Sahel, drug and human trafficking. We reaffirmed our commitment to cooperating and coordinating efforts to address these challenges confronting the regional and the consequences on peace, stability, and prosperity. On continental and global issues, we have discussed the United Nations Security Council reforms and the progress made by C10 in canvassing, defending, and promoting the common African position. We expressed our support and commitment to working for peace on the continent through regional and continental mechanisms and in consonance with continental processes.
Okay, so back home here in Ghana, the minority leader, Alexander Afenyomarkin, has been providing some aspect, is accusing government and the Kofodia High Court of colluding to harass the Member of Parliament for Akwatia, Ernest Yaokome. It will be recalled that the High Court convicted the MP for contempt after he presented himself to be sworn in despite an injunction against him. Now, subsequent to this, national security operatives attempted to arrest him in pursuance of the bench warrant issued against him. On Tuesday, Interior Minister Muntaka Mubarak defended the operatives, insisting they follow the law. The minority leader says the side will use all processes available to them to defend their colleagues.
We found it very strange that the minister justified the actions of the National Investigation Bureau. Clearly, there is collusion between the government and the High Court Kofodia to use their own set of laws in our country. How can the minister tell us that the court order could be enforced by the National Security Coordinator's rep in Eastern Region, and the rep, upon receipt of the so-called court order, also forwarded it to the National Investigation Bureau? With the greatest respect, that is not how our laws work. When there is a court order, it is for the registrar to assign a bailiff for the purposes of enforcing the order. This was a situation where the Supreme Court had already frozen the enforcement of that order. So for a week after the ruling of the court, to hear that now state security operatives were harassing the Member of Parliament in his constituency, but for the intervention of his constituents, they were armed with pickup vehicles, and in fact they actually pulled weapon, a pistol, on the MP, trying to threaten him, to force him into the pickup.
Remember yesterday before Parliament, the Minister for Interior, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, said that the operatives were simply doing their work and they were acting on a court order. Now, tomorrow at 10 a.m. here on Join, we've got the Women Rising, another discussion around women in leadership, shaping the political landscape. What are we to expect tomorrow at 10 a.m. here on Joy News? Raymond Danso is Portfolio Manager, Rights to Social Services with Star Ghana Foundation, and he joins me. Raymond, good afternoon and welcome. So what are we to expect tomorrow, and why the focus on women?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Yes, of course, the focus is on women because as a country, we've come very far in terms of gender equality. Tomorrow, the event or the program is really going to focus on expert women policy analysts and leaders who have been empaneled to discuss the issue around underrepresentation of women in the political landscape. As a country, we think that we have come very far. Of course, some of our policies have worked, but we have not yielded the right results in terms of women positions in political spaces. And so tomorrow we're going to be discussing the barriers, systemic and cultural barriers. We're going to be looking at the current appointment by the government. We've had some data, we've analyzed so far the positions. And so we're going to look at it, explore some of the opportunities that still exist for government to be able to live up to its manifesto promises, i.e. the 30% quota for women representation including also strengthening the legal and regulatory framework on leadership participation. So that is really going to be the focus of tomorrow's conversation. And again, we think that it's right on time and is appropriate because this is one of the opportunities. If you look at the current parliament, the 9th parliament, we have just about 39 women, female MPs.
Right.
That's again 275, members of parliament. And of course, you look also at the Article 98(1), which actually prescribes how the government is supposed to nominate ministers, and it tells you that a majority of them are going to come from parliament. So if even the government is going to get all the 39 female leaders, will still not be able to make up for a lot of the positions. And so Star Ghana, again, we have done a paper recently where we have proposed some of the solutions or recommendations which are quite innovative, that if as a country we adopt, we'll be able to sort of bridge the gender divide and ensure that there's parity within the political landscape. And let me also say that this event or program is aligned with Star Ghana's foundation, our Inclusive Elections and Accountable Governance, which largely looks at creating spaces for disadvantaged groups, including disabled persons with disability, or what we now call differently abled persons, including youth and women, to sort of engage in the political processes. Beyond the elections also, we are working with partners to sort of collaborate with government to be able to respond or be proactive to government's manifesto promises on gender and inclusion. So this is very critical, and I think that it's a time for all of us to really put our effort to ensure that we don't miss opportunities that currently avails itself to us as a country. Yes, we have seen the affirmative action act. Yes, we've seen some progress, but a lot more still requires to be done. And so we think that it's the right time for us to galvanize actions and make sure that at the end of the day, we have an inclusive political environment, which will not only contribute to sustainable development, but also social progress. So this is the reason for our event.
Right. I'm sure you've done some work behind the scenes ahead of this discussion. And I'm wondering why there's low female representation, especially in our politics, especially the electable positions. I don't know whether you've managed to uncover the reason behind this low representation.
So part of what will be discussed tomorrow would be to look at the different undertones in terms of some of the systemic barriers. But for us as STAR, first, we also don't want to miss the short-term, medium-term, and long-term opportunities in terms of building the gender parity. There's been a lot of talk about things that really hinder women, even from putting themselves up for political position. But also as a country, we need to put in best practices and to sort of create the right environment for women to be included in political positions. I mean, there are a number of research that points to the fact that where you have diverse leadership, performance or output are better compared to less diverse teams. And so these are things that we'll bring into the conversation to be able to get the necessary support. Okay. Let me also say that we have different, panelists. We have labor experts who are going to help us to unpack, the issues within the workspace, where we'll be able to ensure that women are rising and taking leadership positions. We have also some from the legal space would also impact issues around the legal and regulatory framework and some of the challenges that women are confronted with.
And I'm wondering why, I wonder, maybe it's deliberate, but there's no politician in the panel, on the panel, if you like.
Well, our focus is not really on the politicians, but our focus is more on women who have risen to the top, who have been able to sustain their positions, have navigated, the political landscape, and able to share with us some of the lessons, some of the challenges. This is not going to be a one-off. We're hoping to be able to continue this conversation, and so that we can have different, caliber of experts and the political. Of course, Political parties are also very important in terms of the opportunities they present for women to be able to rise through their political, architecture.
Right.
So yes, in future we're going to be seeing, politicians and a different cohort of, speakers who would enrich the conversation. But again, our ultimate focus is to be able to galvanize, actions that will bring about change, actions that will lead to inclusive, political leadership in Ghana.
All right. So tomorrow is the discussion will start here on Joy News at 10 a.m. Women Rising, and of course, my colleague Suti Abochi will be the moderator, and will be on Joy News and of course on all our social media platforms. Thank you so much, Raymond, and we'll look forward to the discussions tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, so away from that, and before you go, imagine being rushed to a hospital in a desperate need of care, only to be told no bed, no treatment. That's the grim reality at Old Tafo Government Hospital, suburb of Kumasi. I'm very familiar with this area. Now, where a critical shortage of beds is forcing patients into hard floors and cramped corridors. Now, Nana Boachi here to review a facility on the brink where the sick fight for space before they can even fight for their lives. There's more in this report.
Infrastructural development is a major part of healthcare delivery, but here at the Tafo Government Hospital, there is a deficit. Over here, there are no beds, with buildings stalled. It is a bedless, unburdened situation for the hospital, as they are unable to provide quality healthcare for patients who need them. Today, we are in the Tafo Government Hospital to look at the critical situation that patients go through and the major needs of the hospital itself. The corridors of the Tafo Government Hospital in the Old Tafo municipality are narrow and crowded, with patients, relatives and medical staff jostling for space. As you step into the hospital, the sounds of desperation fill the air. Patients struggling for space, some on makeshift beds, others forced to sit or stand, waiting for attention from the overworked medical staff. This is the neonatal unit of the Tafo Government Hospital, and where I am standing it's very difficult to be in the midst of about 5 children and the nurses who are in here taking care of them in such a small building, and the congestion over here, you can really feel it when you enter. The room, they say, feels very hot with their air conditions even not operating, but this is the situation that they go through even in the neonatal unit of such a big hospital for a municipality.
It's really sad, I'll say that. Because when we come and the place is choked like that, we find it so difficult to work. And currently, someone came to donate certain equipment to us, and then with the equipment, because of the place, we can't exhibit it or we can't use it at the moment unless we get a bigger place. So we are appealing to, I'll say, donors and then other philanthropists to come and help us.
The hospital's congestion is not a new phenomenon, but it has worsened in recent years. The patient's population has grown exponentially, while the hospital's infrastructure has remained stagnant. Medical Superintendent Dr. Eric Kwamedetu bemoans the infrastructural deficit of the hospital.
Tafo Government Hospital is very old, but infrastructurally, if you ask me personally, I will not call it a hospital. Infrastructurally, if you ask me personally, I will not call it a hospital. We need to do something about the infrastructure. It is the old structures that we are still having. Whilst it was urban health center, in those days it was called Tafo Urban Health Center. But once it was changed to a government hospital, the infrastructure still remains the same. So we have a problem with space.
According to Dr. Kwamedetu, the congestion of the hospital forces them not to admit some patients.
It's very serious. If you go to our labor ward, we have 6 beds. You go to our lying-in ward, postnatal, we have 6 beds. Then we have lying-in ward where women who are pregnant, and they have medical conditions like malaria, pneumonia, you admit them. They also have only 5 beds. So when you add 6 in the labor ward, 6 in the postnatal, and 6 in the prenatal, you have only 18 beds that is available for pregnant women and people who need space when it comes to maternal issues. And Tafo Government Hospital is in the municipality, and it affects us in terms of the base. So sometimes you need to turn some of the people away because you can't admit all of them. Then you have a huge number also attending the ANC clinic, and it's done in a corridor where you have used T&J to demarcate consulting room for the midwives.
The maternity block, which was intended to provide a safe and comfortable space for expected mothers, has been under construction for 23 years with no end in sight. Dr. Kwame Detu says the stalled project has become a worry as its old block is deprived of space.
Since 2002, that is almost 23 years now, the projects have not seen completion. So it's affecting the quality of care we are providing in the hospital. As we speak now, our ANC is being provided in a small area. Our maternity labor ward is very small, very, very, very small. So we keep on moving patients rapidly than they should. And because of this, it's also affecting the space the hospital needs to provide other things. So when you come to the hospital, it is not only the maternity that is small, the other wards are very small.
Patients and their relatives are also calling for help, frustrated by the lack of progress and the poor conditions at the hospital.
Congestion, yes. I stood up the whole of yesterday night. I didn't sleep. The bed is not enough for my baby and myself. So it's either this boy fell yesterday night because the bed is very little. The spaces, we can't even get places to keep our stuffs. We have to keep our bags on the bed. So it's obvious. You can see for yourself. It is not comfortable. We are just managing and coping.
Small, and tuntum we will be a area. Na me expect say me ra say me say tuntum ni ha say ade san awu mu awoni me so find den this so and tuntum marry san me kwa me tie me yampo so marry wo kan so ka champion fo no.
The 23-year-old maternity block stands as a testament to the failure of the healthcare system, a reminder of the work that needs to be done to provide quality care to patients. This is the Tafo Government Hospital's maternity block. After 23 years, this building is still stalled and not completed. It was started to ease the burden on the old block, which is very small to accommodate patients. Now, after so many years, this building has now turned into a hideout for hooligans, weeds growing all over the building, and a frontage now turned into a refuse dump. The workers have named this place the first national cathedral, perhaps in the Ashanti region, because it was started 23 years ago, older than the new national cathedral building that is equally stalled in Accra. They want government to fasten the completion of this block to ease the burden on the old block. For Joy News, my name is Nana Boachi Danko Yadom, Kumasi.
And back here in Accra, my name is Elton Globe, and that's how we wrap the show today. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com, for very compelling stories there for you. We've got Top Story News Nights and, of course, Joy News Prime at 7 with Faustina Safo and Kojo Brace. Whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope is profitable. My name is Elton Globe. Have a good evening.